Okay, so now we've gone full circle. So we addressed all the four stages of threat modeling as defined in the threat modeling festival. What are we talking about? And what can go wrong? What are we going to do about it? Did we do a good enough job? So we arrived back at stage one. What are we talking about? And one of the problems that we saw there is that threat modeling typically focuses on the technology stack. And of course, we're all engineers, so that is our sweet spot. But there's more in an organization in terms of threats. And there's also people, there's also processes. And those are typically not being addressed by traditional threat modeling. Sure, you can do that with Stride, but it takes some practice. There are easier ways. And especially if you talk about complex systems, it's all about the social technical interaction of people using processes and technology to get their things done. You also see that this makes it very hard to address things like ownership of systems or cross-team collaboration because technology is often not mapped to a single team or to a single business unit for that matter. And so you need different angles to assess those risks. Uh, Luckily, there's also things out there that we can already use for that. Again, it's not being used actively for threat modeling, but you can use the ideas behind those frameworks for your benefits. For example, there are two frameworks currently quite popular that look at how teams can optimize the way of working, how you can map different business streams and enablement streams within your organization to make sure that teams cooperate most efficiently. You can use the same approach to identify threats. And I actually did an exercise with that in the blog. The link is down here. But basically, what it boils down to is identify what are teams currently responsible for, what are the dependencies between those teams, and where could things go wrong in those dependencies? Where could things go wrong in information transfer and stuff like that? So it's not a technical risk; it's a risk that you're not doing the things that you think you're doing, or you're unable to do the things that you should be doing. So team topologies and unfix provide you good ideas on how to identify risk in that aspect. Um, if you look at processes, well, we also have a bunch of tools that we can use that. Again, value stream mapping is a very old technology. Basically, it maps out all the steps in a certain process and tries to identify the parts that are complex or take a lot of time or that have a high failure rate. You could easily add the concept of risk or stuff going wrong to a value stream map. And that's also basically a form of threat modeling. Nowadays, in the agile way of working, we do not use value stream mapping anymore. We use event storming. It's essentially the same thing. You just use different stickies and nice colors and things like that. But again, it's making a layout of what is going on in my company and what is the consequence of certain decision points. Um, and if you want to do a proper risk analysis or proper threat modeling on these processes, um, we already have a bunch of experience with that. We have the STPA and the STAMP approach to identify what are the steps between these processes and what happens if you fail to deliver on your promise or to deliver on your expectation. We have the failure mode effect analysis that again comes from the lean. It was originally designed for manufacturing processes, but it has been adopted to for non-physical processes, and it provides very good frameworks how to identify what matters, what doesn't matter, what could possibly go wrong, what are we going to do about it. Again, the whole mindset of threat modeling, it's just named differently. And also TRIS can help you here. If you have a process, think about how can we make this a lot worse. And if you identify how to break a process, how to make it inefficient, you can easily identify the opposite effect. How can we make it more efficient? So this way, again, you can go back to the beginning of the presentation and repeat that whole process for your people part in your organization, the process part in your organization, and and just start experimenting what works in my company. Just throw these experiments on your organization, see what sticks, and build on top of that.